I know, right?
Kind. Thank you. All right, we are going to get started. So we are going live. We are live streaming this, just so everyone knows. And we are also Zooming. It was supposed to Zoom through TV, but technical difficulties, and so we're going to improvise today. All right, so they can see you all here. Hopefully they can hear you too. Y'all need to turn them off. Or make yourself host, or turn me off. Okay, perfect. All right, so we are going to get started. So welcome everyone. So my name is Arnidra Jordan, and I am the project manager here at Black Women for Wellness. Black Women for Wellness is the largest and oldest reproductive justice organization in Los Angeles County. We do a lot of programs. We do diabetes programs, breast health programs. Our goal is to make sure that Black women and girls have rights, are not left behind, and that Black women and girls are spoken for. We speak up for them. So we are going to get started, and I'm going to introduce Stephanie. And Stephanie is going to come up and introduce our panelists. Stephanie, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, so can we give Stephanie a round of applause?
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I am Stephanie. I'm the coordinator for Grown and Sexy. And thank you guys for coming. So first we have here is, Adrian is supposed to be speaking. Okay. Okay.
So you're just introducing the.
Yes. Well, thank you, Adrian, for.
Yes, thank you, Adrian.
All right, so I have the honor of introducing Cal and Alicia Chapman, the leaders with over 25 years of experiences, passionate leaders with over 25 years of combined successful experience in Christian ministry, education, psychology, life and business coaching, personal and professional development, and workshops. We coach individual couples and groups by using tools and activities of intentionality to cultivate and sustain change and growth through self-awareness, communication, authenticity, right? I can see my glasses. Growth and healing, resulting in healthy personal, marriage, family, and business relationships. Cal and Alicia Chapman, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Yes, and our next couple will be Clifton and Chanel.
That's me.
Okay, I see three here. All right, so Clifton and Sherelle Blevins, has been married for 27 years. All right. They were joined in holy matrimony on April.
Stephanie, you're only supposed to introduce the facilitators.
Thank you, Stephanie. Well, we are excited about what is going to take place on this afternoon, and I hope that everything that comes out is going to be wonderful and tools that you can use and glean onto. Before we get started, we want to introduce our lovely couples.
All right. Good afternoon. And again, thank you for having us. This afternoon, we have the wonderful couple Clifton and Charnel Bivens and Chris and Joanna Cave. And I'll give you a brief introduction about who they are. So Clifton and Charnel Blevins have been married for 27 years. They were joined in holy matrimony on April the 20th, 1996, and have served as members and instructors to premarital and married couples in the marriage and family ministry at Faithful Central Bible Church for nearly 25 years. Clifton and Charnel are also part of the discipleship group Leaders for Husbands and Wives, and the authors of a handbook for married couples entitled The First Fruits of Marriage. Clifton was born and raised in San Diego, California, and graduated from the University of Southern California with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration. He has spent over 30 years in the financial services industry and is currently a marketing and communications executive at Corebridge Financial. He has been awarded for his volunteerism and community services at the company. Charnel grew up in Carson, California, and graduated from Pepperdine University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in management. She also attained a Master's of Fine Arts degree in creative writing from Mount St. Mary's University. She has over 30 years of experience in educational nonprofit organizations and currently is the Family and Community Engagement Director for Los Angeles Unified School District Board, District 7, with board member Tanya Ortiz Franklin. She is a published poet, playwright, and fiction and nonfiction writer. Clifton and Charnel have 6 children, ages 7 to 14 years old: Jasmine, Clifton III, Olivia, William, and Sydney, they're twins, and Michael. They reside in Carson, California. Chris and Joanna Kay. They are the founders of the We Are One Marriage Summit. The We Are One Marriage Summit was birthed out of the vision to seek and provide tools for healthy marriage while cultivating relationships with other couples that help strengthen our marriages. We believe that we are graced to love one another only when we are walking, clinging, and rooted in Christ, which enables the fruits of the Spirit to flow within our marriages. Chris and Joanna are both accomplished in their respective fields. Chris is a realtor and holds a degree in property management as a residential manager. He successfully manages over 600 units for 14 years. He is currently completing his bachelor's degree in sociology with a concentration in social inequality at California State University, Fullerton. Joanna has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in education, both obtained from University of California, Santa Barbara, and has been an educator for over 13 years. She currently teaches language arts within the newly founded Musical Entertainment and Digital Arts Magnet on the campus of Carson High School, and was recently appointed their Equitable Grading and Instruction Coordinator. Chris and Joanna share a passion for the music industry. They currently serve in the music ministry at Faithful Central Bible Church, where Chris is the director of special projects for music and arts, and together lead the Fresh Generation Young Adult Choir. They are both former members of the acclaimed gospel recording choirs, LA Mass Choir and Victor Bell and, is that Hillel? Hillel. Their love for ministry and people has propelled them into a season of responsibility as they obey the call of God to cultivate and nurture relationships with married couples. Chris and Joanna reside in Long Beach with their 3 boys, Carter, Jonathan, he's 8, Jeremiah Christian is 7, and Caden Joshua is 2. Welcome.
All right, that's great.
Yeah.
We have some experienced people up here. So awesome. I want to kick off our discussion today with what were some of the foundational principles you guys learned at the beginning of your relationship? So what was those conversations like when you first got together about how you would frame your relationship going forward?
Well, Kyle, that's an excellent question because at the beginning of our dating relationship, we were able to outline what our values and expectations were. I remember Charnel told me right from the beginning that she doesn't just date to date, that she was looking for a life partner. And that was refreshing and also something that I was doing. And so right from the beginning, we began to talk about our values, our family's values, our expectations. for going forward as a dating couple, and that really gave us the framework for what a marriage might look like at that time. We were a long-distance couple for the first few years of our dating relationship. So we dated 6 years overall, and then got married. But it was that conversation at the beginning about our values and our expectations that set the foundation for what we would, or how we would conduct our relationship in relation to our Christianity and our faith.
Awesome. I love that. I'm not dating just to date. I have a purpose. I need a roadmap. Where are we going with this? That's good. That's real good. Awesome. What about you guys?
So actually, when we first started dating, we first went through our marriage prep program at Faithful Central. Even before we were members, right? Before we were members of Faithful Central, we did the marriage prep program, and we were also looking through books. There was, I don't remember the name of the book, but we had done, it was like a workbook that we decided to do together to talk about the things that we might not naturally talk about before marriage, and really decide if this was something that we, wanted to do. So we talked about finances and past relationships and all those things that are taboo when you're first dating someone, because you're like, we're just in the dating stage, we ain't getting married, But we knew that we had been through relationships that didn't work, in the past, and so we were intentional about doing something different. And so yeah, we did books, we did the marriage prep program, and those built foundations in our marriage that we still, after almost 11 years, it'll be 11 years next month, that we still hold today. The whole, when we fight, because there will be fights, we fight fair. We don't go below the belt, and there always has to, even if we agree to disagree at the moment, there has to be a resolution between the two of us. We will never hold anything against the other. I know one thing that we decided when we were dating was that we would never walk out on each other. No matter how mad we got, we're in this together. So we gotta figure it out. You ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. So how we gonna resolve this? How because we're in this. So those are just some basic tools that we picked up while dating that we still.
In the early stages, when we first started dating, we were actually on staff
together
at a church, and we were over the youth. So that was one thing that we really cared about, is we knew that all eyes were going to be on us during our courting stages, and that we had these really impressionable teenagers. Some were family, felt like family, and we just did not want to set an example of anything that would steer them wrong. So that was another layer that really helped keep us accountable during our dating stage, is that, they're learning how to do this because they're watching us. So we were very careful to kind of be honest and show the challenges that getting to know someone else, what that looks like. So that was another layer for us.
And I would make the recommendation, we did Faithful Central's marriage prep program as well, workshop as well, that any type of marriage prep type of workshop, it doesn't have to be at Faithful Central, but something that gives you a foundational balance, and as DeCave said, something that also makes you have those conversations prior to getting married, so that you know what each other's values are and what each other wants to see and accomplished in their life.
Exactly. It's vitally important. I deal with a lot of couples who never put in the time to, one, learn each other, and two, build or plan what their marriage would look like. And so when it takes turns from what they idealistically believe, they lose their mind and freak out and think, oh, it's over, right? When it's just really re-engaging and understanding, hey, you know, what is this supposed to really look like? What is this supposed to, and so premarital counseling, conversations, you know, is always great to have. Reading books. I love that you guys read books together and built upon a firm foundation, right? Laying that foundation of what your marriage is going to be. So that's awesome. Love that. So building upon that, I wanted to ask, what advice would you give to people who are trying or looking at getting married? Like what tool, what is the first step?
You have to be a good forgiver. I mean, it's a daily, you know, every day you are in some way either asking for or giving forgiveness. You know, you're bearing with one another's weaknesses and loving one another through seasons that change and life. Right? We just came out of a pandemic, you know, so there's all of these unexpected challenges that happen. And I think that for conversations that we've had with couples, there's all these things that people have and they're like, this is a deal breaker and I'm not, you know, there's no way that I can get past. And if you're going into marriage, that kind of thinking really stifles your experience with one another. Because if you come into the marriage or any relationship with this idea that if this person does this, then all bets are off, then you limit your own, when you're in a situation where you are standing in the seat and you need the grace and you need the patience, you created all of these walls that, you know, come back to really hurt your relationship in the long run. I think that is one of the biggest lessons, and something that was like on the job training, you know, because that's not something that you really can teach someone else, you know. I don't remember my parents sitting me down and teaching me how to forgive, teaching me how to really move past any type of disagreements and how to love, even platonic friendship relationships, you know. You have people who are friends even for 20 years and there's a disagreement and you're not speaking anymore. So there's this, I feel like the society that we live in nowadays, everything is just so cut and dry. And when you're coming into marriage, it just can't be that way because we're always constantly in these positions where we need to give and we need to receive grace. And so that's what
Awesome. I think the first thing for any individual who is in a relationship and thinking about marriage, coming from a Christian point of view, is to understand whether you're ready to be a husband or a wife or not. We spend a lot of time, people spend a lot of time judging their partner on whether they'll be a good wife or a good husband, when the question needs to be turned around. Am I ready to be a husband? Am I ready to live up to what God says a wife should be? And so when you apply God's standards, then it really gets you to look at your own standards and where there are differences. Because as Joanna said, you will be tested by time and by circumstance. And whether or not you are ready to have the kind of faith that it takes to be married, have the kind of resilience it takes to be married, and be willing to forgive and reconcile, which is a daily thing in marriage, then if you can't answer yes to those, then you're simply not ready. Forget about your partner. You're not ready.
Right.
And so considering that as a baseline question, among some other things, is really central.
Awesome. I know I always say that if you want a better wife, be a better husband. If you want a better husband, be a better wife, right? How, in your relationship, what are some of the things that you did individually to be that better?
I have a prayer closet. I really do. I mean, I don't have the one like the movie set up, but I've learned in the moment, like even being able to sit here, it hasn't happened yet, but to have this conversation with God, like, did you hear him? And God's like, yeah, and I don't want you to do anything about that. And I'm like, but I need to tell him. And God's like, no, just let it go. Or, you know, Father, what do I say to this? Or what do I do? And so it's really my connection with God, with my Father, talking about, and I talk about God the Father. How do I walk this out? How do I do that? And that has really sustained me over 27 years to be able to stay here, because every day is not a bed of roses. There are some days that you're just angry and you're upset about where you are in life. I think the scene in Viola Davis won her Oscar for when she says, "I've been here every day with you," and yeah, and fences, and I who made me think I didn't have hopes and dreams, and I think that happens to both spouses, but the end point that you're getting to, and the kids and the grandkids and the life and others that you've blessed through your marriage is what it's about. And so I had to have a prayer closet, because I'm sure I could have been Viola Davis and
I've really learned from Charnel. One of the things, whether you are dating or you are in a marital relationship, you know you're a different person than they are. And I have learned through trial and error, but particularly Charnel's modeling. She is someone who is quick to anger, but quick to forgive. When we first started dating, I noticed that the way I was the opposite. Slow to anger, but slow to forgive.
very, very slow.
So how do two people with those different styles, where she might have gotten upset, but now she's over it, ready to forgive and ready to move on, but now here I am in my cave, unwilling to come out. Over time, we have rubbed off on one another, and we have become what the Bible says, which is be slow to anger, but quick to forgive. She was my model on learning how to forgive faster. And I've been her model on being slower to anger. And so in a relationship, you begin to rub off on one another as you see the proper model displayed before you. And like I said, it's through trial and error, and it's through ups and downs, but you end up finding your balance.
Okay. Chris? Well, I think, one thing that you learn very quickly, as cliche as it sounds, is that marriage is very selfless. And so you have to learn how to, I completely understand where Clifton is coming from, because I am the same way. I am very slow to become angry. It takes a lot, but once I'm there, it takes me a minute to, unthaw. Thank you.
Not months like me. I had to wait months.
I am naturally one of those who, it's the Libra in me, forgive me, but I am naturally one of those that can literally turn you off. I can completely turn a blind eye to you even sitting next to me. It's a blessing and a curse. It is, but I have learned it had become more of a curse in our marriage, and I had to break that. We would get into a disagreement or intense fellowship, as we learned to call them, and I would shut down. be like, oh, I'm done. I don't have anything else to say for days. You know, I'd just be like, you know, she'd walk in the house, I'd be like, I don't even see you. I don't, you know, but that was, and I had to learn how much damage that was doing to our marriage and to her, and myself. So, you know, it was that turning point that said, you know, okay, I cannot, we gotta deal with whatever this is, whatever issue we're having, whatever problem we're having, we're gonna get through this. I think one of the best pieces of advice that I think we've ever gotten was one of our mentor couples, so simple but so profound, just said, it won't always be like this. Whatever it is, you won't always be here. So get through here and get to the next, and then deal with the next. Like you, and ever since then, our whole marriage has just taken a complete 180. Like we have, like we resolve things. So what took us days takes us an hour. You know, like we might be mad. I'll be like, give me a minute. You know, just give me a second. We'll come back to this. You know, and then we'll come together and be like, all right, so, you know, how do we get through this? And, you know, it's like, what's for dinner? you know, what are we having? You know, we got these kids to deal with now. Now we got to be back on each other's team because, you know. So, no, I think that is highly important, and what we've learned is that it won't always be like this.
I think the question was about something that we learned about.
Something that you've done to be a better wife.
Thank you.
To have a better husband.
I think that for me, especially in the beginning, I mean, I was single for a really long time before we got married, and, you know, in my profession, I had a lot of single friends. So for me, I think it took me time to know that some of my sharing and venting was dishonoring my husband. What I shared and when I shared it and who I went to for advice, that they didn't have resolutions for me, that I needed to go within me and within our marriage to kind of find those solutions. And of course, with the best intentions, but I think that I was so used to having my girlfriend circle be my sounding board on any issue, whether it was work related or you know, things that came up with my family and things like that, that I didn't realize that when you get married, that shifts a little bit. And there's a level of protection, there's a level of care and respect that you give your spouse that's different than any other relationship that you have. So I think that, you know, there was a moment where, like, I'm venting, but I send the text about him to him. And I remember that was early on, and I didn't realize the damage that could do. And he felt disrespected because he's like, you're having a conversation about me is this what y'all talk about? You know, and I had to check myself, and I had to remember that, you know, not everything, this is a sacred bond. This is not for public consumption, not all of it, you know. Not that if there was anything wrong that my friends wouldn't be able to, you know, support me, and I'm not saying you should live in isolation, but I am saying that there are certain components. Over time, I learned that I need to, like Chanel said, get in my prayer closet, journal, reflect on myself, reflect on what I'm doing and what I'm adding, instead of immediately calling someone else to say, girl, let me tell you, you know, and it wasn't helpful. So I think the moment that I was able to really give him the respect that he deserved, even in our disagreements, in our moments of dysfunction, I think that it helped that resolve, it helped that him come around quicker, because I'm like, okay, well, I can't talk to nobody else, so we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to figure it out with one another. And I think that is something that's really guarded us and protected us from anyone, because not everyone has your best intentions. Specifically, when it comes to marriage that they don't have experience with, you know. So I think that over time I just learned to lean in prayer, lean into Him, and then even trust my own judgment. Not everything needs a sounding board, but I can trust my own, you know, experience to know what to do in certain situations.
That's good. That's good. I like that. One thing that I've learned, and is that we tend to go to our village, our people who are familiar with us for advice when we're stuck, instead of going to the person that's connected to us to get that. So I love what you said. You had to stop that, and actually now it's forced that you guys have to communicate, right? And it also eliminates the chatter and removes obstacles from God being able to talk to you. Sometimes we gotta, like you said, get in your prayer closet, and be quiet. and then listen and follow, and so that's great. That's great. I'm gonna start this with you guys, but then I want you guys to chime in as well. But in your relationship, 27 years, I know that there's been some storms. Many of us have weathered the pandemic as a storm in our relationship that could cause strain. A lot of couples get into trouble because they never anticipated the storms, and so what did, in the 27 years you've been guys been happily, blissfully married, if there's ever a real thing, describe a problem or a storm that you guys had and how you overcame that.
A storm. I'm going to describe not so much a storm, but probably cloudy weather.
Okay.
It lasted for a long time. That I didn't know if it was going to change or not. So, and this is not as deep as maybe some other examples could be, but in our relationship, I am what is commonly known as the neat freak. Okay, everything has its place. I can't function in clutter. I need to have an organized area, and that's what I am able to operate in. Charnel has her own organizing principles that she can operate as she moves with a lot of different things in a different way that I didn't consider tidy. And so I was wearing Charnel out with, hey, you got to pick up behind yourself. You got to, this belongs over here. You got to, and so I was chasing her down with my way of doing things. And that created a lot of tension between us because I was trying to enforce my standards upon her. It wasn't until we began to have children, a few years in marriage, where I realized that I had to change, that I was creating an environment of tension, an environment in which it was hard to live with me. Okay? And so having children, as we began to have children, I could see that it's actually impossible to keep a neat house. There's no way to account for this person over here and this person over here.
No way.
And all of that. And so I said, the environment that I'm creating within the home is one that's very difficult to live under. And it's me who has to change, not the other person. And so many times our focus is on what the other person can do to change and how fast they need to change and how many times we've told them they need to change. When God asks you to change, and He'll handle the other person.
Right.
It's interesting. I wouldn't classify you as necessarily neater.
Well, of course you would.
we have different tolerances and different styles. And so, and Clifton comes from a family of teachers and lawyers, and so he's a lecturer. And he wants to make sure, so I don't like closing the linen closet door or the closet door and everything behind it is just a mess. He's okay with that. I'm like, if it can stay right there, the clothes can stay right there till I fold them and put them in. So it's just a level of how you like organization but he's right. You have gotten better. We were married a week and we were cleaning up the apartment. And he goes, that's not how you do it. You're supposed to clean the bathroom like this.
You gotta put your elbow into it. Down in there if you're gonna clean. And you're using the wrong sponge. It has the other side that you can get stuff on.
And he married an empowered black woman, strong black woman. I was like, well, you know, you do it. And so 27 years later, he still is the only one who cleans the bathroom. I love
And that's not what I intended. My approach was wrong.
So that's part of that lesson of learning how to do it. But yes, having 6 children, and I think we gave you the wrong ages. That tells you we are on cloud 9 as empty nesters. They are 17 through 24. But you put something down and you turn around, you go back and go, I didn't move it. What happened to it?
I have come through and cleaned everything up.
Or the kids have picked it up and they're using it right now. So we have definitely learned how to better not fuss at each other about what's laying around the house.
Awesome. What about you guys?
I think the biggest adjustment for us was just having kids, period, having small children. We have, our 2 oldest sons are 16 months apart. So we went from enjoying each other to having what felt like twins. And that was just a big adjustment. And I know I'm not alone in this, but a lot of times for me, what the struggle was is that it felt like my life shifted and he was able to continue doing everything that he was doing before kids. And that, you know, that built some resentment because I'm like, hello, I'm here. I'm sinking in diapers and bottles and all of these things. And he just had to, after multiple conversations, like, I don't know what you need all the time. I think I was assuming, you don't see that I'm stressed, you don't see that I am overwhelmed. And it really was a lesson for us in communication. Like, he was willing and able to do all the things that I needed. It was just a matter of how, you know, we were able to communicate that. I mean, it's still a challenge. We have a 2-year-old now. So it's just constantly trying to find moments for one another. It's still a challenge just because they're always around. but I would say that was a hurdle.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that when we first had kids, that was when we got that advice. It won't always be like this. And so that really was a major adjustment or storm, as you put it, for us, because it was learning how to navigate with children, navigate our marriage with our children, and for lack of a better term, in spite of our children. I think too often all of the focus is put on the children, and then you build a wall of separation between spouses sometimes that way. And I think one of the things that we had to learn how to do, because, you know, before we had kids, you know, we could pick up and go anywhere. You know, it's like, oh, what are we doing this weekend? Let's go up to San Francisco. Oh, okay, let's go down to San Diego. Let's go here, let's go there. And once our kids came, it was like, you know, we at the house, okay? All right, you know, we at the house again, another weekend, all right, you know. And so we had to learn how to navigate with our children. So we started taking them on trips with us sometimes, on trips with us, and, you know, finding that village that was able to step in and help, whether it be grandma or auntie, godparents, so that we could continue to have time together. So that was a major hurdle, because it was hurting us.
Right. Especially that first child. For me, I was like, nope, I got it. You know, you're not changing his diaper the way you're supposed to. You got to do this. And it's like, well, if I want him to help, you can't limit what the help looks like, you know? So it was just such I never had a child before. I never, you know, felt that connection, you know, that mama bear. Like, even my mom, I'm like, I don't trust her. Yeah, I know you raised me, but I don't think you never raised him, you know? So there was just like, for me, that process of letting go of some of that control and focusing on my husband, you know, and knowing that like he's as important, you know, and finding that time. We do much better now. Why they're not here now.
Awesome. So digging a little deeper. Tell me, like, what was that ingredient? Like, what was it that you received from your spouse in a difficult moment that helped you know that you're gonna make it through?
That's a really good question, because sometimes you don't figure out what that is until you're a few years into marriage. But I'm reminded of the origin story, Adam and Eve, because Eve was taken from Adam's side. So what was built into Eve, Adam received. And so there are things that Eve had that Adam didn't know about until certain circumstance came about. Over the years, there have been situations with family or our children that were either confusing to me or I didn't have the answer for. And Charnel's intuition, her calmness about whatever that situation was exactly what was needed at that time. And I realized, well, I wouldn't have reacted that way, but that was exactly what needed to be said or what needed to be done. And so when I think about an ingredient in Charnel, it is her faith that comes through in times of trouble, that has always blessed me, has blessed our family, and that's when you realize, I did pick the right one, guys. We're gonna make it through. And because of that ingredient of faith that she has, where you get bad news or you have to do something. A really quick example is with my parents who live out of town and I have to go see about on occasion. Charnel is someone who is all about family, not just our family, but the extended family. And so when there's a crisis or when there's an urgent need, she doesn't hesitate to release me to go take care of that issue and then welcome me back from that. Not everybody reacts that way. And so that's the ingredient of faith and family has always shown through at the right time.
What about you guys?
I would say I am naturally go with the flow kind of a guy. So I'm like, you know, everything will work itself out, kind of a, you know, don't stress, it's gonna happen, it's gonna come to pass. I think one thing that I have learned from her is her level of preparation. My wife is a teacher, so, you know, she is very, you know, plan A. It gotta be plan A. So, you know, and making sure that we have the steps in place. You know, we gotta do this, then this, then this, then this. And I think that over the years, it has, you know, even still now, I'm still more along the, you know, it'll be fine, you know, we'll work through it, you know, whatever happens, happens, and we'll deal with that later. But I'm more apt to make sure that we have a plan in place, just in case, you know, it actually does work. It might actually work if we go with the plan. So she I think that ingredient has kind of helped kind of shift me to be a little bit more responsible, so to speak, in how we do things, how we plan for our family, how we plan for our lives and our marriage and things like that, how we go about doing things, because it was needed. I was just like, you know, I'll deal with it. Very much a bachelor. We'll deal with it when it happens. I ain't worried about it, you know. Do I have the money to pay for this? Yeah, you know, let's wait till it gets turned off before I actually pay.
When we were dating, his phone get caught up every month. And I don't understand why, you know the bill is due. So when we were in our premarital, I was like, I gotta do the finances because I'm not getting my phone cut off. Wait, no, you gonna pay the bill. So it was definitely.
It was right back on in a couple
But
hours.
But every month, it was hilarious. For me, the ingredient, the moment I knew for sure was we were dating and I had to get a procedure done and I had to be at the hospital. It was dark, I don't know, 5 o'clock or something crazy early. And my mom was supposed to be taking me to that, anyway, he beat me to the hospital. And was the last person I saw before going into the procedure and the first person I saw when I got out. And it was that moment in my, you know, not to divulge too much, but I did not have a history of being able to trust the men in my life to stand up and say and do what they said they were going to do. And that was huge for me because it let me know that I didn't have to carry the burden by myself. That there was someone who was not only willing but wanted to take that load and cover me. You know, and that was, and it's been the same, it's been that way since then. Like I feel like I'm able to exist with a freedom because I know if I fall, I'm not falling by myself. So that's it.
That's interesting, because I'm thinking of how to conceptualize it about Clifton, and it is that strength, it is that, you said covering, but it's Clifton has a way of approaching life. And it's funny, I didn't know till a couple of months ago how he couched it. And he was like, I don't care what other people think. But it's a strength to be so sure and have integrity in yourself, to just be solid. He's just solid. And so that allows me to, okay, I can trust where my heart is placed. I can trust that. He has taught me so many different things, shown me a different side of men. And my dad's a good man, but it's a different side of men that I had this crazy notion that men was what most men supposed to do and how they react and how they go through life. But he's just solid, and that's made it easier for me to be all that I am. He's not worried. Are we in this together? We in this together. All right, we can figure all the rest of it out later. And so that's been, I know he'll protect me to my family. He'll tell everybody, he told me one time, he said, something happened, I was in play groups and stuff with family members, and something happened with his family. And it was about me, and he was like, I will cut them all off, including my 80-some-year-old grandmother, for you. And I was like, yo, I can do it because I'm a family person. No. And he's like, no, it's me and you. I will cut your family. And stuff happened with me and my family of origin. He was like, I'll cut them off. We cut them off too. It's about us. And so it's that strength, that inner strength that I just know he will take care of me. He will allow God to take care of me through him. And so that is something. And as we were all talking, I know for those who are thinking about dating or in a relationship and trying to figure out if I get married or in a marriage, and you're like, oh, I want something like that. Well, understand, Chris is Joanna's, and Joanna is Chris. I couldn't be married to Chris. Joanna couldn't be married to Clifton. Clifton is mine, Charnel is Clifton's. We have our own crazy, we have our own great, and every relationship has that. And so instead of coveting or being jealous or looking for something else, pour into yourselves and find out what's yours. Because you talked about earlier, like venting, and I do vent, but I have wives who walk with me. And one of the best things one of them said when we were going through something was like, yeah, Clifton's crazy, but he's yours. He's your crazy. He's for you. He would drive me crazy. And it was like, yeah, he's mine. And so I say that to encourage you that whatever has been given to you, cherish it, because it's yours and it's perfectly built for you.
Amen. That's good.
Yes, that was good.
Good. Because it's so true to that. We look at other people's relationship and we want that, but we're not willing to do the work to have what is actually for us. And so when you're learning those foundational principles, faith is what I heard, help get you through, having faith in each other, plan, understanding the importance of planning not just for the good, but also for the bad. You know, what happens if somebody loses their job, if someone gets sick? You know, what happens if we're in that for better and for worse season? You know, and then really having those tough conversations, and then, you know, responsibility. You know, like, you wait till things get cut off, I'm gonna take care of it. But it wasn't, you know, I've seen so many couples go, this ain't the one for me, right? For one little thing. Right. Instead of saying, well, this is what God created me to do, because I'm good at that.
Right.
You know, so I'll take that from him. We ain't got to worry about the phone bills getting cut off, and I can always reach him. And then he don't have to worry about trying to come up with an excuse why it happened. Right. You know, and so it's important, it's vital that we are those things, and we create that, like you said, what's for me.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, Cliff drive me crazy. You know, I know, I told my wife when we were dating, our first date, 15 minutes in, you know, after you get all the nice to see who she looked good, who he looked good, you know, and we begin to discuss how we were going to move forward. And the first thing I told her is, I'm a bit much. It's not easy being in a relationship with me because of the demands I have on my life and how I move through certain things, from pastoring, counseling, businesses, all those things. So it was like, you know, are you ready? You sure you can be these things, you know, that this is not an ideal you have to marry a position or a title, but to marry the man. And she said, yeah, you know, no big deal. You know, she busted me down to a low note. You ain't as special as you think you are. You know, but she gave me that confidence that she wanted to have a relationship that the two of us are building, not an ideal. So it left the pressure of trying to be somebody I'm not. You know, I always say, this is who I am. Love me, believe me, but this is who I am. And then the same is, you know, loving her through.
Say it, huh? We having a discussion, whatever it is.
She has this quiet storm with her, you know, and she brings about peace. And she's a planner, you know, so she plans, and you know, we had a discussion this week about, you know, my lack of planning as far as like events, you know, things for us to do, and I just, you know, look, this is your thing. I'm not a planner because I look at the numbers and go, these dots are not connected. Whereas she knows how to make the numbers work, right? So she handles the planning and is having that ideal of building that type of relationship.
And that's what makes it difficult when you are single or you are dating. We are often in comparison mode.
Mm-hmm.
I want that, or I want a little of this, etc. When every relationship is like an individual fingerprint.
Right.
And that fingerprint belongs to those two people. You can't find that fingerprint over there and over there and under here, wherever it is. So it's something that is achieved through friendship and through going through a few things together to find out how the other person handles stress, how they handle good times. And some people are worse when things go well than when things are going wrong. So how do they handle things? How do I handle things with them? As you're going through your single period or your dating period, those are the things to kind of look for, to form that individual fingerprint.
I like that fingerprint. I'm a bar, I'll give you credit.
Sure.
How much time do we have?
Let me look at my clock. We got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Do we have any questions?
That's what I put in here. Let me go back to the chat. And I asked, and then unless, Adrian, do you want to ask your questions yet?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So the question I have is, how do you continue to nurture your marriage? How do you keep the nurturing in there? I heard the stories. Some of it is, you know, you wasn't on the same page, but you figured out a way to stay on the same page or to get on the same page. But what are some of the other things you do or have done to nurture your marriage?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Charnel and I wrote First Fruits of Marriage to answer that specific question. First Fruits of Marriage deals with the fruits that God says your relationship is producing. And so what we tried to do was put together something that allowed couples to be intentional about what they did together. Mm-hmm. The common notion is that, well, love is spontaneous. Mm-hmm. You don't bring me flowers anymore, or you don't fix this for dinner anymore, or whatever, as if it's supposed to happen out of thin air, like it may have used to happen. Mm-hmm. But when you're married and you have children, your schedules, your work schedules, etc., are literally pulling you apart. Mm-hmm. And unless you are intentional about coming together, whether it's a date night or date afternoon or date morning, whether it's having dinner as a family or as a couple every evening, you have to intentionally plan moments of quality time together that are consistent so that you don't spin in different orbits, which is what commonly happens to couples. You have to be intentional about planning those areas of interaction that bring you together. One of the things that when I'm mentoring men who say, we have trouble talking, we don't communicate well anymore, I say, walk and talk. Take your wife or take your girlfriend on a short walk around the neighborhood or around a park, and that quality time together will create this communication, this talking about anything and everything that will bring back the intimacy that is missing from a couple that is not intersecting anymore.
And then one of the things, so we had 6 children in 6 years. We had six under 6. She didn't turn 7 until about 8 weeks after the youngest was born. And one of the things that we did, we joined ministry together. So we ended up being a part of the Marriage Works Ministry, as it was called at the time. Now it's a little bit different, and we're still a part of it. But the other thing is, my husband is a Trojan through and through. He bleeds cardinal and gold. And so since he graduated USC, he's been a season ticket holder. And so what I ended up doing is, hey Mom, can you watch the kids? Because date night is going to the SC football game.
So I had to buy another season ticket.
And
how is this gonna work?
And so we went to Trojan football games during, I didn't realize that would become a year-long thing, because you didn't just have fall football, you had spring football, and you had summer, and so anyway, and
It's a commitment.
It's a commitment. But we did things like that, and so that was our time of getting away and reinvesting into our marriage. And we made intentional, the kids went to sleep before Netflix was streaming. We went to Blockbuster and went and bought videos. Yes, I'm aging myself, but rented videos. And after we put the kids to bed, and we were intentional about the kids' schedules. You cannot sleep in my bed. This is my bed. This is our bedroom. I will sleep in your bed till you fall asleep, but you cannot come into our bed. We had 6 of them, so we could have them revolving door all night long. No. But we were intentional about doing that, and we were intentional about putting us first. Kids are more settled when their parents put themselves first, and their relationship first. They feel more comfortable.
And that principle applies to your family of origin, your friends, your co-workers, etc. They all fall in line when the couple is intentional about who comes first and what comes first.
So now that we're empty nesters, we went to New Orleans for a weekend, did not think about the kids, and they're sitting at the house when we come in the door with their foot tapping, like, where y'all been? Y'all not thinking about us. And they laugh, no, we want you to keep doing it. But it's being intentional, so now that we are empty nesters, we can go back to, hey, are we going to San Francisco this weekend? Are we going, so it's putting the breadcrumbs along the way, so that you can pick up and have the full loaf of bread, the rest of the bread, after they are moved on. Because we're raising them to do exactly what we did. I love him, Mama. You don't know what you're talking about. And they go off and marry somebody or do their own thing. And so you want to continue to keep that connection with one another throughout.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's excellent. Just to piggyback on that, that's exactly what we do to nurture our marriage, because we were firm believers of, our marriage comes first. Yes, we have kids, and we have young kids, like she says, 8, 7, and 2, and so it's finding that time together, away from the kids, because once they're gone, if we have not nurtured us, then we're gonna fall apart. How many marriages end in divorce after the kids are gone? Because there was nothing, there was no relationship there. There was nothing to keep and hold them together. So we will get rid of them real quick. Quickly, Mom, can you take them for the weekend? And we will be gone. We just celebrated 10 years last year and went to Paris. So we're just like, we're extremely intentional. I just asked and said, babe, our anniversary is next month. What are we doing? Where are we going? I don't care if it's a staycation. I don't want them around. I don't want to be in the house with them. So where are we going? So we are extremely intentional about taking care of us first, because if we don't,
Yeah.
then we can't effectively take care of our children. And this is like Charnel said, this is something that they're seeing.
Yeah.
You know, they're seeing how mommy and daddy, you know, get along, how they interact, how they go away. And they're so used to it. Now they're like, bye mommy, bye daddy. You know, the 2-year-old, he knows, am I going to Granny's house today? Yes, you are. We're on a, he knows when we get off the freeway this morning, we get off the freeway, he said, Daddy, we go to Granny Boo's house? Yes, that is exactly where you are going. He knows that when we get off the freeway on this exit, that's where you're going. But it's just, you know, so much to the point, we were in Paris for 10 days? No. 6 days. But we went to Israel a few years ago, and we were gone for that one. We were gone for 10, 11 days. But the kids, they're so used to they're used to mommy and daddy being here, but they're also used to mommy and daddy being with each other. And so they don't, you know, they'll get to the point where they miss us, and she gets to the point where she misses them. And I'm like, they'll be all right, we'll see them when we get back, you know. She's like, you want to talk to them? No. I'm FaceTiming them. No.
But I think that sometimes, you know, that's not our everyday reality. We don't
Right.
always get to do these elaborate trips.
Yeah.
So I always say we find pockets of time.
Yeah.
So if the kids are, I'm a teacher, but our children are in a different district. So some days I have off that they have to go to school, and we are the first in drop off, and then we will go to breakfast, or we'll go for a walk, or we try to put them down early, and then we'll have a show that we only watch, and you know, don't go to the next episode without me, because it's not always about spending money or leaving them. Sometimes we have to find our time, even when they're around. On a weekend we'll put them down, and yes, our kids are big, we still put them down for naps. It's self-preservation. So, you know, they'll go down for a nap, and then we'll get to watch a show or get to talk, or, you know, just enjoy each other's time. I remember someone told us, because I usually have to get to work fairly early, and I would get to work and be setting up my classroom and just call him, and it's 20 minutes, we're talking, or, you know, that call on the way home, because for a minute he had a really long commute on his way home, so he would call me and talk. It's just knowing, of course, each other's love languages, but I needed that connection. I needed to have an adult voice talking to me at some point in the day that wasn't demanding something from me, you know? So just in addition to planning bigger times away from them, but just finding these little moments where we can just be Chris and Joanna, where, you know, we can lay everything down and no one is expecting, you know. And I was telling him the other day, I had a really bad day at work, and I was like, the whole day I was just really anxious. And I got home and climbed right next to him, and I was like, I just needed you. It wasn't even, my day is, I'm gonna go back to the same crazy that I left yesterday, but it was something about just the presence of being able to kind of breathe, you know, and finding those moments, making those moments, you know. Can you watch them for a couple hours, you know, please? And finding those times really helps sustain me specifically, because like he said, he can be in the house and the rooms are burning around him. I'm like, you don't hear these kids screaming at the top of their lungs, and he's completely unfazed, whereas I am very much triggered by we have 3 boys. So our house is very loud all the time. So just finding those moments of peace with him really helps nurture our relationship.
And the last thing I would say is, even though we have our time together, we have our time with our kids, but with nurturing ourselves together, we also do individually. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, then I can't effectively help and take care of my wife. And so one thing that we do every single year, we make it a point, is we have what we call a dadcation and a momcation, where I go off by myself on a trip. It'd be a day, maybe two, and most of those are staycations, but just a way where I don't have to be husband, I don't have to be dad, I don't have to be boss, I don't have to, be minister or music director, all this stuff that is demanding me and my time, where I can just sit and do whatever I want. If I want to just sleep, I can sleep. If I want to just watch TV, I can watch TV, and I don't have to have the demands of being who I am every day to someone else. And she gets to do the same. She will go off, and usually now I'm a little better at it than she is. I will get there and I'll be like, I'll call you when I get there and let you know I made it safe, and then I will talk to you when I talk to you when I get back, or I'll call that night just to say goodnight to everybody, and then that's that's it. Now she'll go away and be like, I want to talk to you. I'll be like, no, go enjoy you, and most of the time I'll have to do it, like I'll have to book something for her, because she won't do, she's mom, and so I'll be like, babe, you need a weekend.
Because I'm getting on everybody's nerves. By that point, I'm getting on everybody's nerves. So it is time.
It's time for your momcation. I'm gonna book it for you, and you just be ready. You just pack a bag and you be ready to go. So we get that. One weekend a year where we just get to breathe and just say, you know what? I don't have responsibility this weekend. I can just relax and chill and kind of rejuvenate myself so that I can go back and be the husband, be the father, be the wife, be the mother that God has really He wants us to be. So we take time for ourselves and with each other to help nurture.
Clifton did that to me one day. I had 6. He came in the house and I had 6 crayon boxes around me and all these crayons. And he said, "What are you doing? Is dinner ready?" And I was like, "I am just trying to put these crayons back in these boxes." That's all I can think. That's all I can think about right now. And then the next time he said, "You are going to the Pasadena Hilton. Your Burke Williams is booked for you, and you will not have a car. I'm dropping you off." I was like, I want a car. Yes. He was like, "No," and it was the best weekend that he had booked for me. Just like because all I could do was get the cerulean, each cerulean in each box, each green, the sun yellow.
Really, I'm like,
No, this was like those 24 or 36 box crayons. You're like,
The pack of crayons.
it was 6 of them.
all right, so I know we're a little bit over time, so I want to close this out. Marriage is something you live. As you develop your roadmap on how you build your marriage and what your marriage is, you have to keep nurturing it. You have to be intentional. You have to put into your marriage. But it is supposed to be something that's lived, not talked about. Not something that you just dream about, but you actually live it. So the good, the bad, some of the ugly, but most of the beautiful, when you learn to live your marriage. So with that said, you guys be blessed. I hope this was something that helped. And keep on living your best life.
Awesome. Very good, Stephanie. You're
All right, thank you so much. This was awesome. Yes. Beautiful.
Very nurturing.
But I do have one question. How do you guys keep the intimacy in your relationship? Put it on the calendar. So you got to create dates.
Yeah, and that's life will go. You get busy. I mean, you got to prioritize it, just like everything else. You put work on the calendar, churches on the calendar. So you got to put time. I'm not saying that you can't be spontaneous, but you also need to make sure that that is of essence. It is not a non-negotiable.
Okay. So I'm inviting each and every one of you guys to our next Growing in Sexy. And the topic is going to be on the 5 love language.
Ooh.
So finding your love language.
Absolutely.
All right, so with Miss Ojora, we wanted you to come on up, sweetheart, and close us out. Give us a little information about BWW.
Next one is sexy.
Next Grown and Sexy would be August 17th, and it's via Zoom. So just go to our website and just click on Grown and Sexy at 7 o'clock. It's via Zoom as well. September is going to be in person. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. You guys was amazing.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
I can't wait to go on our website.
Fantastic.
Follow me.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Audra Jones. Beautiful Audra Jones. So I was glad to pop in, and it sounds like the foundation of each of your relationships is the Lord. So that's always very pleasing to me. And just glad that you were able to take the time out of your day to be a part of the work that Black Women for Wellness is doing. I've been a 27-year volunteer with Black Women for Wellness. Primarily the work has been centered around advocacy for Black women and girls in Los Angeles County, but also really working on the work that we can do for our families. So super excited about this because it is helping too for some of the work that we're doing as we work on our Black infant and maternal health to save Black moms and babies. And have built a lot of policy work in LA County to support our families. So would love for you to just really stay in touch with us, connected, join any of our activations and engagement. And we really just, again, thank you for being here. I'm also a board champion with the organization. So we also look for new board members still. So if by chance you're interested, you can let myself know or Anidra. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
I will invite them to the conference. I will comp y'all tickets, perhaps some free tickets.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I will end this now. Okay, perfect. All right, and so we are done. So every year we have a reproductive justice conference. It's August 10th, but we have a men's track, and we're having Damon Jones come to speak about, his wife died. He is, I always forget her name, and she'll kill him. Judge Holler's son. That was on television. Charles Johnson, Lord, I got
Judge Hatchett.
Judge Hatchett, I said that. Judge Hatchett's son. And we have some other men who are gonna talk about various issues that affect them in their relationships and marriages. We have a maternal health track, we have a mental health track, we have an environmental justice track. They are going to make their own clothes out of reusable material. I don't know how that's gonna work, but they're doing that. We have a youth track. And what are our other tracks, Erica, that we're missing? Did I cover all of them?
Obviously, the special needs track.
Special needs track, because sometimes special needs, their rights are violated because of the fact that they're special needs. And we're going to have our youth track and our public policy track.
And
We're writing public policy.
And we'll also have Michelle Browder come from, Alabama with her Mothers of Gynecology activation, which honors Anarcha, Lucy, and Betsy, who were the real mothers of gynecology here in America because they were
Mutilated by Dr. Douglas.
No,
That's
Sims.
Charles Sims, okay,
No,
I get everybody name wrong. Mary Sims, yeah. Okay, and then we are also going to have Dr. Deidre Cooper Owens, who wrote Medical Bondage, about how African Americans were experimented on during the time of slavery. We're bringing in Dr. B.K. Edmond, who wrote a book about maternal health and breast health. And we also have, I'm missing somebody on our panel. Oh, Professor Alford from Louisiana, from Southern. She she works with Ben Crump, and they are actually fighting for Henrietta Lacks's family to get about $2 billion from the government. So she writes all the briefings and all of that on the, she's a lawyer, so she's coming from Southern University. So we have some really, we'll have Camilla Moore, who is the chair for the Reparations Committee for the state of California. So we'll have some really, so if you want to attend, it's August 10th from 8 to 5. And I do have some extra tickets because one of my sponsors said nobody, they weren't be able to come because they had another conference they had to go to. So I do have a couple of free tickets if you would like to join us, okay? Okay. Yeah.
I'd love to have them.
Yes, we would love to have you there, most definitely. And so we're looking at 160 attendees. One of the things that we're trying to work out, we gotta work out with Jose, is having the exhibit actually stay for a week, because Michelle's gonna be here for longer. And so people can go and see her exhibit at the California Gallery. So we gotta work that out with Jose. Yes, I hope so. Jose was like, you be asking me for that. Yeah, but I think they could be done too. I'm about to bring him a cookie or something.
They should,
So,
so
yes. Yes, cookie or something. So yes, so anytime you need anything from us or you wanna refer someone to us, our doors are always open.
Well,
Yes.
on behalf of all of us, we want to salute Black Women for Wellness and the important work that you're doing in Los Angeles and beyond. This is critical work that you were doing on behalf of the Black community, and you ought to be celebrated more. There ought to be more light on what you're doing, but you don't even worry about that.
No.
You keep doing what you're doing.
Continue to do the work.
And making change in people's lives. So we salute that and thank you to our hosts.
Yes.
We love
Yes.
the title Black Love and Joy because so many times these discussions veer towards the negative side of what people are doing and what they're not doing, rather than focusing on what is working.
Yes, absolutely. So please take food with you. If you feed the kids for dinner. We got a whole thing of salad, and I don't want to eat no salad.
20.
Yeah.